Hi besties, welcome back to the channel. We are back with another banger. Today's video we are talking about the class of 2026. That is if you're going to grade 11 next year, or if you're seeing this video in 2025, happy new year's to you and your family. So in today's video we're going to be looking at the assessments that you're going to do in grade 11. And remember, I'm sure you've seen from social media that grade 11 is the year that you need to bulk up. You need to bulk. You need to take advantage of all the assessments you're going to get. For example, I'm just opening this so that we can have that document ready. But you need to bulk up, and any assessment that you think is easy, you need to aim for 100%. You need to aim for 100%. So let's get into the concepts or the assessments that you'll be doing and how can you actually maximize your points. We're going to start, of course, with home language. Your home language, that's English, Afrikaans, Setswana, Sepedi, isiXhosa, isiZulu, isiNdebele, Tshivenda, everything that is written, home language. Disclaimer, this is for all the learners who are doing the NSC CAPS and not IEB. The first term, there are 4 activities. There's 2 oral activities, there's 1 writing, and there's a test. The 2, there's a listening comprehension, there is an unprepared speech, there's a transactional writing, and there's a test for 35 marks, and it's usually a comprehension, summary, and then language structures and conversions. That's it. That's it for the term. You have 2 orals that count 30 marks. You have 1 creative writing task that is 25. That is already let's see, 60, 70. So it's out of 100, it seems. So if you can do very well in your oral activities, make sure you aim for 12 and above. Creative writing, aim for 22 or 20 and above. Test, make sure you get at least 25. And how do you do that in your test? Practice all the grade 12 paper 1 exams, starting with the one from this year, if the memo is out. That is how you're going to make sure you get good. Creative writing, remember that the most important thing with transactional writing is the format and structure and the contents thereof. The language that you use, and make your language or the use of your language very interesting. Use idioms, use parts of speech, figures of speech, like make it as creative. Have irony in the way that you write, and adhere to the standard. If you're given a friendly letter versus a formal letter, the format is not the same, and you need to know the format. All right, let's make sure that we get good marks. So this is for all the home languages. Now let's go to first additional, and most people, the first additional is English. There's only 3 activities and it's out of 80 for the term, so it's very easy for you to get a distinction, and a good distinction. You have a listening comprehension for 10 marks, you have a longer transactional writing for 30 marks, and then you have a test for 40 marks, which is similar to the test in home language. How do you do? Well, here, the 50% of your mark is going to come from the test, because it's 40. It's 40 marks. The transactional writing is 30, and then the listening is 40. It's 10, so it's 40 plus 40 is 80. So for 50% of your mark is going to come from that test. Okay? And then about 75% from the other 450, let's say about 37.5 is going to come off from the creative writing that you're going to do. And also important, structure, format, and the use of your language. The more you practice, the better you become. The more you read, the more you listen, the better you become. So that is what you need to do for your English. Let's go to content-based subjects. Let's go to accounting. And now we're also going to be talking about the topics. In accounting term 1, there is reconciliation, fixed asset, financial accounting of partnerships, and there's going to be a report which is 50 marks and a controlled test which is out of 100. And you're supposed to write that in 90 minutes. Is that enough time? You guys tell me. But that is what you're going to do, and make sure that the test is where you do well. So grade 11s, it's very important that if there's a formal assessment, you do well in all of them. But if there's a test or an exam, it usually weighs more than the assignment. For example, this accounting test is going to weigh 75% of your term 1 mark, and then the report is going to be 25. So you can easily get a level 6 just by doing exceptionally well in the test and not even writing this. We're not saying don't write it, because remember, in order for you to write your final exams, you need to make sure that you've written all your NSC SBA requirements, which means all the assessments. So start learning now. All right. And then let us go to life orientation. I actually like life orientation. I've been a tutor for life orientation for almost 7 years now. And the marks the kids are getting, they are amazing. You're going to have one source-based task and a physical education training activity, which is 10 marks. The source-based is usually 90. 90 plus 10, 100, that's your term mark. So you see which one weighs the most, the source-based task. It's going to be written in a controlled condition environment, not to be written as a test, but it's controlled. You can't be asking your bestie for answers. You need to be giving your own answers. I think some schools do allow you to use material, but just not consult with other people. And the topics that are done there, it's goals and goal setting, relationships, admissions requirements, and financial assistance. A lot of you guys have been asking, how do you calculate APS? How do you calculate that? I'm going to create a whole video that's just on the content on life orientation, grade 11. So stay tuned. There's also going to be principles, processes, and procedures for a democratic participation. Role of sports in nation building. That one you need to look out for. It's always going to come out in your June exam. The role of sports in nation building. Very, very critical. So life orientation, the most important thing I could really say as the take-home message here is that you need to make sure that you understand keywords. Remember, life orientation is about you studying and understanding the concepts, but it's also about the keywords. If we say critically analyze, if we say critically evaluate, if we say discuss, if we say elaborate, if we say enumerate, do you know what that means? Because if we say enumerate, we are saying you must list, but we could use that to trick you, because most people are just used to list or identify, but we could give you another term. So make sure that you're familiar with the terms, and you're also familiar with the mark allocation. If it says 2 times 3 or 3 times 2, do you know what the difference is? That is what you need to know in order for you to do very well in life orientation. And later in the year, when we do term 1 assessments, you will see how we break down that in order for you to get good marks. Okay, let us get into the next subject. Life sciences. Oh, I love me life sciences. Life sciences is actually one of my favorites. I think I like a bit of everything. Life sciences is going to have biodiversity and classification of microorganisms and biodiversity of plants and animals. And you're going to get a practical and a test. The practical counts 25 and the test counts 75. But the school could set the practical out of 30 or out of 50, then it gets converted to 25. Same with the test, it could be 50, 75 or 100, but most schools would prefer to do it out of 75 because then they don't need to convert anything. It just becomes administratively heavy if you have to convert things, you know. But sometimes the system does it for you. So how do we do well in life sciences? You need to study life sciences every day. Remember I said you need to study 5 subjects in a day. 5. And usually in the first term you could get away with not studying your languages and LO. But do not get away with that, because now in June you have more workload for you to cover for the June exams. So study it. Study LO like it's your last day on this earth. Do you get me? Even your English. Before you write your languages, that test, make sure you've at least done 5. You see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 past papers from the grade 12s. Because grade 11 and grade 12 languages are quite similar. So make sure you practice those, because if you can practice those, chances are, I didn't say this, some teachers, if they're going to be setting their own papers, they're going to use those previous past papers. Okay? It depends, but also it just prepares you on how to answer certain questions, and the more you do it, the better you become at it. Then soon you'll be getting 100% for that. So the other thing is, when you're studying this, you need to also look at the examination guideline or the ATP. For example, here, microorganisms, they're saying that you need to know the basic structure of how a virus, a bacteria, a protista, or a fungi looks, the role they play in maintaining balance in the environment, as well as characteristics of each. So that means that we could ask you to distinguish between a virus and a bacteria. Tabulate. tabulate. And terminology, any definition that you find in life sciences, you need to know it. Remember, most of the time in life sciences, they won't ask you to define. I've seen that actually happen, but I was like, Usually, typically, especially in the final exams, they would really not ask you that. So it's important for you to know biological terms. If we tell you that this thing does this, that, then you need to tell us what that is. And also, when you're doing biological terms, there's always one word that is distinguished. It's a very special word, and it tells you that this is what we're talking about. So make sure that you understand those and you highlight them. Practice past papers. That is with life sciences term 1. Let us get into mathematical literacy. You're going to have an investigation and a control test. Control test 75, investigation 25. Do very well for both. Remember that we need to have a correlation between your marks. You can't get a 95 in the investigation and get a 50 in the... correlate them. You can't be having marks that look like this. Because that means that you only pass the things that you get to take home. You see, balance. That's why some teachers would make you write your investigations in class while you don't speak to other people. You're going to do patterns and relationships, which is conversions, two constant relationships, inverse proportion, ratio, and you're also going to do measurement and finance. So those are the things that will be coming up in your investigation in your text. Let's check mathematics grade 11. Fun fact, I actually had a mentee get 100% for maths in term 1 and in term 3. Term 2, I think there was a 98. Yeah. So for mathematics grade 11, there's exponents and surds, equations and inequality, and trigonometry. And there's going to be an investigation or a project and a test. The test 75, and then the project investigation is 25. So make sure that you balance the two. And one thing I can tell you about this one, make sure you know how to solve basic algebra expressions. Do you know how to complete a square at the end of the term? Alright, let us get right into it. Trigonometry, you need to know how to reduce. Reduction formulas, you need to know how to do them. The nature of the roots, that's one thing you need to master because it's always going to be in grade 12. If they ask you to discuss the nature of the roots, you need to know what the various roots are supposed to look like. So go and do that. Let us do physical sciences. And I'm sure most of you guys are here for that. Okay? So for physical sciences, you're going to get a test and a practical. No? Yes, it's usually on gravitational acceleration, on Newton's second law, the practical, and there's going to be a control test. But you're going to do what? Vectors in 2 dimensions. You're going to do Newton's laws and universal laws, electrostatics. Newton's laws, you need to focus on it and master it. It's going to be in grade 12 exams, but they won't teach it again. Your teacher will just do a revision. So make sure that you master that. Vectors in 2 dimensions is very specific. If you are asked to draw a resultant vector, either calculate it or draw it, you need to be very accurate. Make sure that a ruler, a pencil that is sharpened, you use them when you practice. Awesome. And for physical sciences, bestie, if things get tough, in physical sciences, use your exam guideline for definitions. No definition will be marked correct unless it comes from the exam guideline. You're going to get a 0. Physical science, they don't give you 1 mark. It's 0 or 2. No in between. Actually, you could get 1, but that's if your answer is partially correct, you forgot the rest of the definition. But make sure your definitions are from the exam guideline. That way your teacher cannot give you a 0 for the definition if it comes from the exam guideline, because that is what they use to make the memorandum. If you are asked to draw a free body diagram, make sure that you look at the marks. Usually the marks will dictate how many arrows they're supposed to be. So if it's 5 marks, then you know there's supposed to be 5 forces. Okay? And remember, if something is on an incline, how does that affect the body diagram? Some of these things will start making sense once you do Newton's laws. Do not stress. Do not panic. Alright? Perfect. And make sure that whenever things get tough, basically in physics, you use the definition to answer your question. The definition will always tell you is this directly proportional to this. So if they ask you if the force increases, what would happen to the acceleration? The definition already tells you that if the force is directly proportional to this, it means that if this increases, this will also increase. Do you get it? And also always make sure you use your formula and find out what do you not have in that formula. There might be more than one formula, especially for example, if let's say they give you a coefficient. Make sure you use a formula that would want you to have a coefficient. Okay, bestie, let us do tourism. Tourism is straightforward. If you don't get a distinction in tourism, I don't know. There's a task 1 and a control test. Same thing. The test counts 75% and the other 25%. And you're going to do tourism sectors for the whole term. You're also going to learn about the Gautrain. Oh, that is interesting. I love the Gautrain. It's so convenient. So you're going to also learn about that. You're going to learn about airport terminology, checking in, kiosk, boarding pass. And for some of you guys who flew before, this is going to be quite straightforward. You know, if there's a long haul, a short haul, you're going to learn about this in tourism and you need to get a distinction. What did I forget? Let's do business studies. Business studies is going to have a case study, which is 50 marks, and a control test for 100. Same weighting, test 75, 25 for the case study. And the topics is going to be influences on business environment, challenges, adapting to these environments, impact and contemporary socio-economic issues, business sectors, benefits of company versus forms of ownerships, avenues of acquiring business. That's what you're going to do. And these things are easily available on the Department of Basic Education's website. I know there's a subject we are forgetting. There is geography. Geography, there's going to be a map work task and a controlled test. The weighting in geography is a bit funny because it's not really 75-25, is it? Sometimes it's 50-50, but I will confirm and put it down in the chat. But Earth's energy balance, global circulation, African weather and climate, drought and desertification. Drought and desertification, you can do it in a day. It's not intense. What I would tell you to focus on is energy balance, global circulation and weather and climate. And also make sure that the map work you did in grade 10, you still know how to calculate an area, a length, what you might call, as well as GIS, the components of GIS, the definition, remote sensing. You need to know the components. Excel, it's Excel versus what? Tell me you did that. And then economics, I think it's also the same with business. There's an assignment and a control test. It's factors of production, circular flow, economic system and economic structure of South Africa. And that would be the end of it. So bestie, that is how your term 1 is going to look next year. I hope you've been writing all of these down. If not, they are readily available on the Department of Basic Education's website, but you might not get everything. So I compiled everything together, including the weightings. The weightings are on a separate document. The topics are on a separate document. So you can get them on the website. Just search ATP grade 11, then you'll see everything. The ATPs are still 2023, 2024. They are not going to change. And if they do change, usually it's just the dates, because already remember, it just makes it easier for the department also to manage their own administrative work. So that is it from me. Good luck. You can do this. Make sure that you practice enough. Whenever you write an assessment at school, ask yourself, have you practiced 5 times? And if you usually get below 55%, try and practice more than 5 times. And always ask for help very, very early. Bestie, until then, I'm going to be uploading a video very soon that's about term 1 LO. So your teacher might not be available on a day. I'll be having a video that you can go and watch. So good luck. Bye, bestie.